Hey, my name is Hannah Colbert, and I am portraying the woman at the well.
I am the woman who has been sick and crippled for 18 years.
In the play, I'm playing the friend of the paralytic.
My name's Rochelle, and in the play, I play a woman who's possessed by many legions.
Hi, my name is Cindy, and I am portraying the paralytic woman in our play.
My scene is mainly about a friend's faith for healing, and it starts with we're expressing our desire to know about Jesus and to take our friend to Jesus because we've seen the miracles that he's performed, and we try so hard, and I believe with my heart that, and I have faith that if I just take my friend to see Jesus, that she will be healed.
She served with everything she had. Her desire was to be a true servant, and she was there every day at the synagogue, and she waited for her healing, and she tried everything she could, and she would never give up no matter what. She always served because she knew that there was something better out there for her. But regardless of her serving, she was in pain, and the thing is, people see a cripple.
One of the most impactful parts about playing this character is that when Jesus walks onto the scene, the demons immediately recognize who Jesus is and the power that Jesus holds. And that has a lot of meaning to me because it's like when Jesus just steps into our lives and everything in our lives recognizes who he is and we are able to submit to him.
The thing that most inspires me is that eventually at one point we all have to wake up and realize that the only reason we're placed in the situation that we're placed in is because we don't want to get out of it. We get too comfortable in our problems and we wrap them up and we carry them in our back. When in reality, if you want to take out that situation and leave it, then you got to be the one that starts moving and taking course, taking action to get out of that hole. And the thing with her is she was stuck for 18 years. No one would see her. No one would see her hard efforts and her work. But at one point, she decided to say, I'm done. I'm not going to stay stuck anymore. I'm going to go and I'm going to receive my healing. And that's the day she found Jesus.
So this character is honestly so amazing to me. She's everything. She is sassy, she's bold, and she's like smart. I really love this character, and I'm so glad that I get to portray her for these reasons. But I was reading over the story of the woman at the well, and a few things jumped out at me. So if you don't know the story of the woman at the well is a woman who had been married a lot of times, 5 times to be exact, and she's with a man now who's not even her husband. And so she goes to this place, Jacob's well. She goes to a well at noon, which is significant because at noon it's typically like super hot and it's like the heat of the day. But she went to the well at this time for a very specific purpose. She went there because she didn't want for other people to be there, especially a Jewish man who was waiting for her at the well. And this Jewish man was Jesus.
I decided that I wanted to study each and every scene that I was going to be in, and what God wanted to portray in it. So one day God woke me up really early in the morning, and he started talking not about one of the miracles, or not necessarily the healing. I guess it is a miracle, but not a healing. He spoke to me a lot about the multiplication of the fish and the bread. And so I want to read a little bit of that so that you can get the full understanding. So we're going to read out of John's account here in John 6. And it says, Jesus went up to a mountainside, and he sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. Then Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming towards him. He said to Philip, "Where should we buy bread for all these people?" He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. And Philip answered, "It would take more than half a year's wages to buy bread for each one to just have a bite." Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up and said, "Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 fish. But how far will they go among so many?" So whenever God woke me up, he said, "Do you think in a crowd of 5,000 people that the only food that anybody brought was 5 pieces of bread and some fish. Whenever the disciples went around and they asked, hey, do you have anything to eat? Do you have anything to eat? I promise you there was somebody in the crowd that had something, but they kept it back for themselves because they were afraid if they gave it, what would they eat later? And I really wonder how many times we do that with God. We think, oh, we've got this, but what could God do with it? It's so tiny. I can only serve one time a month because of the way my job works. Or I only have, my tithe is only a few dollars. What's God gonna do with that? But if we give it to Him, how far will He go? Instead of keeping it to ourselves, where that's all it will ever be, just to us. But if we give it to Him, He can multiply it.
I don't think that Jesus did things for no reason. And so that's something that for you, point number one, that you need to know is that you may be hiding, but Jesus is already sitting where you are going to be found. So she's at the well at this time, and she's talking to him, and she's being a little sassy. She's like, look, it's hot. I don't really want to be here right now. I don't want to be talking to you, a Jewish man, because you guys can be kind of judgy, which is kind of true. Jewish people back in the time, they were the chosen people of God. And so they kind of wore that as like a badge of honor at that time. But to her, she's like, look, I have a past, and that obviously isn't going to be reconciled because you guys treat me differently. You guys treat me terribly. So here I am trying to find a moment of peace where I can just be at the well by myself and not have to worry about people being there. But here we are. There's this man, this Jewish man who's there. But what we find in this story is that Jesus does not exclude her. He talks to her. He engages her in conversation. And he even offers up himself. He's like, hey, I am the Messiah. He ends up telling her at the end who he is, which he doesn't tell people that. Sometimes he tells them, hey, don't say, because he's wise and he knows who to tell and who not to tell. But he told the exact person that needed to hear it. She heard him say all of the sins that she had committed. He's like, you've been married 5 times and the man that you're living with right now isn't even your husband. But what that tells me is that Jesus is saying that your story can be the thing that propels you forward rather than holding you back. She ended up finding a purpose in that. She ended up going and telling everyone that she knew about Jesus, about the Messiah that was there. Imagine just a few minutes later, I can't imagine this conversation lasted more than a few minutes, but she was just a few moments ago going to the well by herself at a time that nobody else would go to the well. And now she's taking the thing that once gave her shame to the town of Samaria to tell people, hey, this man is Jesus. This man is the Messiah. Jesus can use you. He can use your story.
So what they do is they end up taking them through the roof of wherever Jesus was teaching at the moment, and they just decided to break through the roof and bring their friend down. This story to me is super powerful because what ministers to me about it is, first and foremost, it's super important the kind of people that you surround yourself with. You don't want to be surrounded by people that just are negative all the time. Like for example, the paralytic person. You don't want friends that always talk to you about the situation that you're in, or friends that tell you, oh no, you're never going to be healed, or that don't give you hope. Because I know that in life, you, along with me, we go through all kinds of situations that sometimes are good and sometimes aren't. And it's super important that we surround ourselves with people that encourage you, that tell you to keep pushing along, that are there to pray for you and to just uplift you whenever you need it the most. So this story, as I was portraying it, I thought about all that, and I just wanted to tell you today that no matter how crazy the situation is, because I know it's crazy for you to be paralyzed one day and then at another moment to just start walking. Those are things that we kind of look at and think that are impossible, but I just want to remind you today that nothing is impossible for God. No matter how hard your situation is, no matter if you feel like it's something crazy that'll never happen, nothing